thing you have to do with your assignment is chop, chop, snip, snip. You need to keep these 3 parts of the assignment. You need to cut off the section that shows you 8ths. You need to cut off the section that shows you 6ths. And yes, today it is going to be important that you cut right on the lines. If you can't see where to cut off your 6ths, there's a very faint straight line there where the 5ths start. That's where you want to separate them. Okay? And you can see as well, the bottom of your 6ths, you'll need to trim that off. And the side of your 6ths, there's a faint line on the right hand side of them. Trim down your 8ths as well. You cannot see them as well. It looks like it should be safe to stop cutting them at the dotted line. The reason I went is because you want these 8ths to all be the same size, because it takes 8 pieces the same size to make up a whole thing with 8 8ths. I trimmed that one down a little small, didn't I? I don't think this one really needs trimmed down much for it to be the same size as the other 8 8ths. So I'm going to leave my 8ths as they are and cut out my 5ths. Again, attempting to keep the pieces the same size. So this time I'm not going to be quite as enthusiastic in cutting off the edge of the 5ths. Possibly I will have 4 5ths that are larger and the 5th 5th a little smaller, but hopefully it comes out to be pretty close the same. Remember, the way you get fractions is you take a whole amount and you split it into the same sized pieces. It takes 5 1/5 pieces to make up a whole thing. If that's the case, I have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. There's one whole thing, which means I have another whole thing of 5ths underneath it. So I can cut them apart and all of a sudden see that there are 2 whole bars, 5/5 and 5/5. I'm going to keep my 8ths and my 6ths together for now because I want to illustrate what you're doing with the 5ths. You need to cut them now so that you have individual 5ths. 1/5, another 5th, 3rd 5th, 4th 5th, 5/5. There's a 6th piece that is 1/5, 7 1/5, 8 5ths, 9 5ths, and 10 1/5. You will notice what is left now. I can zoom in a bit. It's asking you to show 10 5ths. But you don't have to trace them. You don't have enough space to trace them. What you do need to do, you need to come up with 10 additions that equal 10 5ths. They must only use 1/5 and a plus sign. Now, I can change this actually. They must use some number of 5ths and a plus sign. You know that when you add, let's say we say 2 plus 1 equals 3, you can also say 1 plus 2 equals 3, correct? What I do not want you to do, I do not want you to count this as 2 separate addition facts. If you say 2 plus 1 equals 3, You will not also say 1 plus 2 equals 3. But wait, Miss Yoder, I thought I was going for 10/5. Yep. So, how are you going to do that? Well, you have 10/5 right here, so you can lay them out. If I have 1/5, how many do I need to add to it to get 10/5? I will arrange these a little bit differently here for you, just so that I don't have to zoom out too far. So I had my 1/5. How much do I add to it to get 10/5? Well, 1/5 plus 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5, 6/5, 7/5, 8/5, 9/5. 1/5 plus 9/5 equals 10/5. You need at least 10 of these. You could certainly say, hey, wait a minute, Miss Yoder, if I had 1/5, and then I just say 3 more fifths, and 3 more fifths, and 3 more fifths, wouldn't that be like 1/5 plus 3/5 plus 3/5? 3/5, 3/5, another set of 3/5. Doesn't that equal 10/5? Well, I might double check that one. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 1, oh wait, that is 10. And the size of the pieces stays fifths. So you need 10 addition facts. You need to number them. So I gave you 2. Whoops, you couldn't see any of that, could you? 1/5 plus 3/5 plus 3/5 plus 3/5 gives me the 10/5. So I have come up with 2 different addition equations that lead to a total of 10/5. You need 8 more. I do want you to lay them out so that you can see, indeed, this number of fifths plus this number of fifths. I've lost a fifth. Will, there it is, give you 10/5. How did I know I had lost a fifth? 5 plus 5 is 10, and I only had 4 here and 5 there. So, when you have 10 ways to add up to 1/5, you need 5 addition facts that use sixths, and they have to add up to 10/6. And yes, I want you to trim them out and set them up in front of you before you write them down. So again, number them, circle them. When you are writing fractions, it is important to make them smaller than regular sized numbers. You could write these instead of straight up and down, 1/5 plus 9/5 equals 10/5. These are also fractions. However you choose to make your fractions look, be sure it's obvious which numerator goes with the denominator. Make it nice and neat. You also need 5 addition facts that lead up to 10/8, but you must have eighths on the bottom. So the size of these pieces, it will always take 8 of these pieces to make a whole amount. Well, we have 2 whole amounts with the eighths that are given. You only need to add up to 10/8. So trim these apart, get your different addition facts, and if you have time, see if you can make more than 5 or 10. Really play with these and start looking at, could I add 6ths and 8ths? Could I add 5ths and 6ths? How could I get pieces that are the same size? And can I? This is the only part that is your assignment, but you must have these trimmed apart and use them, lay them out before you write the addition facts. No, you don't have to show me a photograph of that part, but that is something that you need to do. We are building an understanding in your brain of why we do certain steps when we are adding fractions. It has to do with the size of the pieces. That's your assignment for today. Have fun with it.